Okay, going to look at mixing Michael Harding's Pyrrole Red. I've talked about this in another post, but let's just have a quick look at how you can mix it and how you can lighten and darken it. There are two approaches to do that. Okay, so this is just Pyrrole Red. Okay. Now, how do you lighten that? Okay, so you can do it with white. Let's just add a little bit of white to that. And you can see, using tiny amounts, as you start to add the white, it takes some of that luminosity out of the vibrancy out of the red. Okay. A little bit more. Let's use a little bit more white. So I was watching a video about Bob Ross the other day. You know, apparently he actually worked quite hard on that way of talking, that sexy and apparently gentle way of talking. Anyway, I'm just going to, there you go. So there you go, there's what we call a tint of Pyrrole Red. Let's get a bit more white out. Now, it doesn't really matter what white you use. It's a warm red, so you use a linseed based white. It's not going to destroy it, is it? Because it's going to make it slightly warmer if it yellows. Anyway, there you go. So you've got tints of, let's make that one a bit paler. Tints of pure red. So there's the pure red, and that's a tint, because a tint is basically adding white to it. Okay, so a tint of the red, and I'll get a really pale one. Can you get a really pale one there? Just get rid of some of this for a minute. The only way you're going to be able to keep the colour to your pink. I mean, you might think this is desirable. Okay, this might be highly desirable. It's not what you're aiming to do. In which case, great. But this is what happens if you add white to Pyrrole Red. It just goes, basically, just gets chalkier. But sometimes that's highly desirable. Okay, now what I'm doing now is adding black to the red, and this won't work with all primary colours, because, well, particularly yellow, because most blacks are blue, they're super dark blue. Okay, so when you add black to it, it's generally going to, if you did it with yellow, it's going to make it go green. Okay. Now you can add black to warm red and magenta, or cool reds as well. It's not too bad, because as it's effectively blue, then it's actually going it's making the warm red bluer as it goes across the spectrum. But what you will be losing is a little bit of that vibrancy or saturation, chroma, whatever you want to call it, in the colour. Okay, because there's yellow in the warm red, there's a yellow overtone in the warm red, and that's going to make it browner. So this is browner than it could be. Okay, but not too bad. So there's the warm red as it is. This is warm red, a little bit black added, more black. The more black you add to it, the darker and darker it's going to get, until you've got almost raspberry kind of see that? It's really just making a super dark burgundy. Yep. Okay. Now the other way to do this, and keeping the vibrancy in your colours, just squeeze out a bit more red there. The other way to do that is to go with a yellow. So what yellow? It doesn't make a great difference what yellow I add at this point, but I'm going to go with a warm yellow because it's. Let's go with the Cavian one. Actually, I'm going to go with warm yellow because it's the one next to it, next to warm red on the spectrum. Okay. And what I'm also going to do is get some magenta and squeeze that out. And now, a slightly different approach to changing the value of this red. So if we get that red, we put that there. Okay, so there's warm red, almost pure red, except I now have some black in it. Let's just clean the palette knife a little bit better. Okay, and I picked up off there actually. Okay, so there's warm red, pure warm red. Okay, now what I'm going to do is add magenta to it. And I'm now making a darker, more neutral red. In fact, there will be a point where this would become a neutral red. So just changing the position a little bit because it's uncomfy. You can see that the magenta isn't actually having a huge influence over it. So if I pick up a load of that, slap that in there, you can see that adds, hopefully you'll be able to see, it's actually now slightly darker, but still quite pure and vibrant red. Okay. More of this. Now I've still got some of this magenta, warm red on the knife. So this is mostly magenta. Again, I'm going to clean the knife, but too much of that red on it. Red's just such a tricky colour. It's like here's the rascally rabbit of colours. It gets everywhere. It's all in my fingers for a start, but it doesn't dry. But it's also a really useful colour, so forgive it. It's irritating, annoying habits. Okay, so now I've got a warmer, not warmer. I've got a more saturated version of this, but getting darker. Yeah, and eventually it will just be. Magenta. Okay, at that point, if you want to go darker, what you add to it? You add blue. Okay, because on the spectrum, purple comes next, and purple and red make blue and red make purple. So if I add a little bit of blue to that, okay, it's now going super dark, heading in a super dark direction, but it's also staying really vibrant, or as vibrant as it can get, purpley red. Okay, whereas these have gone brown, this is radiant in its direction it's going. Okay, and if I use the last of that, and so you put that in there, it's going to turn to purple, because that's the spectrum order of these colours. Okay, but that's now a very dark but deeply saturated colour, and these are various hues of the same thing. Now you can go in the other direction. If I sort of grab some red and then some warm yellow, what's happening now is it's going orange. Yeah. So the warm red and warm yellow are natural partners to one another because they're next to one another on the spectrum. Grab a chart, and then you see that. Okay, magenta, warm red, orange, warm yellow, lemon yellow. Okay, so chuck that out of the way. Now if I grab a little bit of the warm red and more yellow, and getting a brighter orange, yeah, just basically pick more yellow. Now we've got a point where, is it warm yellow or is it orange? It's probably orange, but you know, it's a fine point to argue over. And okay, let's get a bit more yellow out. You need cadmium, but you can use cadmium yellow hue, or you can use something else similar to it, as long as it's a warm yellow. So this is now warm. See, I have to check it's on the camera. So now it's a warm yellow, and that would go next to that, which is pretty much pure cadmium yellow. It's got a little bit of orange in it. And then the next step would, if you really want to be fussy, is to it would be to add lemon yellow to that. Okay. So lemon yellow would come next. Put a little bit of cadmium yellow in it if you like to neutralise that. And then it'd be pure lemon yellow, and then I guess if you're going for a spectral highlight or something, you could then start adding white to that. Yeah, you can just about see that on the camera. Nudge, you can see it's in the tape there, showing me where the edge of the screen is. Let's get this tape off. There you go, that's a bit better. Okay, so yeah, this has been Michael Harding's Pyrrole Red, but you can use cadmium red, doesn't really matter. It's a warm red. And what we've done is added black to it, and then you've got these browner tints as it's gone in that direction. Yeah, okay, tones. And I've added white in this way, and it's you've got these sort of baby pinks and a tint there. But to keep the pale pink tint, to keep the saturation of these colours going, but getting darker in this direction, I've used pure Pyrrole Red, then added magenta, and then added blue, a tiny bit of blue, until you've gone really super dark purple there. And in this direction I've added cadmium yellow to make it lighter, but still retaining its saturation, vibrancy, chroma if you must. And then I've just added more cadmium yellow, and then I've started adding lemon yellow, and eventually white, just to make it super bright at the end. Okay. So it's just two different approaches to how to darken warm red. This one's full saturation. This one is going to be a muted version. They're both applicable and both usable. Depends on the application you want for them. But you know, there you go. Two ways of doing it. I hope that was helpful. See you later.